Two things to know today. Victims lose up to $153 million worth of Bitcoin in the Coldcard Exploit, and the Clarity Act still has not passed. I'll get to those in a minute, but before we continue, I just want to say that the Cashu token worth 2,100 sats is still pending from Saturday's lightning interview with Prashanth, founder of Bringin. I checked X for some feedback, and it would seem that the token only loads to about 99%. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include that token in this Monday's update so that hopefully someone can spot it, scan it, and get the 2,100 sats. 2,100 sats isn't much, especially to all of the victims from the Coldcard Exploit. The last time I talked about this, it was with Okin about a week and a half ago. We did a deep dive on what happened and the use of AI to scale exploits like this. And since then, Galaxy Research has come out with a post on X summarizing the situation. The report touches upon the possibility of a fourth wave of attacks. If you don't know, Coldcard used a pseudo random number generator that has very poor entropy. And so if you use a Coldcard, or if you have a Coldcard and you have not updated the firmware, your funds are at risk. Please go and rotate your keys to a new seed phrase and ensure that your funds are safe. Galaxy Research's report says that there could be a fourth wave of exploits. And if that is, in fact, the case, the total number of Bitcoin that has been stolen to date is 2,417.35. Today's August the 17th. So as of today's exchange rate, roughly that amount comes to $153 million. What I find really weird about the situation is the fact that the thieves just have, the stolen Bitcoin sitting in wallets, viewable by anyone with a block explorer, or if you go to mempool.space, you'll see the coins just sitting there. I'm sure that's quite painful to the people who have actually lost their coins, but I also find it a little sus. Why would you steal coins and just have them sitting there? I checked Coldcard's or Coinkite's website for updates, and basically their most recent update from 2 days ago, August the 15th, talks about the firmware update that they made. What I find fascinating about this as well is that they don't mention, the number of Bitcoin that has been stolen, but they do, I guess, try to focus on the positives and the good things that they're doing. As a company, I can understand why that would be their strategy. It makes sense. They also, because they were heavily criticized for the fact that they only made their software source viewable as opposed to fully open source. They emphasize the people who have contributed to the firmware updates. And they also have a section where they link social proof posts from X that show people interacting with Coldcard or their thoughts and opinions that aren't so negative. I understand their perspective, and yeah, it is very strange. Business is ruthless. You got to do these things if you want your company to succeed in the long run. So I'm trying to, reserve judgment. But my question to you, the weekly question is, would you trust Coinkite with any of their products? And would you use a Coldcard again if the community provides assurances that the firmware has been up to date and now they're using like a true random number generator and they're not using the pseudo stuff that they used to use? I would love to know your thoughts on that. So please, add them to the comments. And with that, the Clarity Act, I talked about it like 2 or 3 months ago. There was supposed to be a vote in July. Then there was supposed to be a vote in August. We are mid-August. There's still no vote. Apparently, there will be a vote scheduled for September the 15th. And like with previous times, they need at least 60 votes in order to avoid a filibuster. We shall see how this plays out. I've heard rumors saying that the vote was delayed because the midterms are coming up. I've heard rumors saying that the vote was delayed because of the war in Iran. Who knows what's happening? Who knows if the vote will actually happen? But I will, tune in to see how this actually pans out. And, with the Coldcard incident and the Clarity Act and, BIP 110 and with all of these things that seem to be happening, concurrently in the Bitcoin space, I was thinking this morning that maybe, just Bitcoin is just fine. And we are the ones who are interfering and, making things just a little too janky, like jankier than they need to actually be. It could be changing laws like we see with the Clarity Act. It could be changing node policy. It could be, building the perfect wallet that Coinkite tried to do. It could be, changing the consensus mechanism because we think, proof of work is not great right now. It could be all of these things. And while I guess these mistakes and these exploits are part of the broader learning process for the entire community, I just think that, maybe we should stick to understanding and perfecting our use of the fundamentals that already exist before we try and go off and just make Bitcoin better or make things better. I don't know. What do you think about that? I just think that, we are the weakest point in all of this. My whole motto is stack and live. You make a bit of money, save a bit of money in Bitcoin, learn about Bitcoin as much as possible, learn why it is better money than dollars or Swiss francs or yen or whatever. Do your best and learn how to secure it properly. That's my whole thing. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I guess I'm a little basic from that perspective, but I'd love to know your thoughts on that too. TikTok, next block. So yeah, Clarity Act, we'll see what's going to happen with that. This Saturday, August the 22nd, my full interview featuring Prashanth, the founder of Bringin, will be released. It is a full interview, therefore there will be the treasure hunt. 12-word seed phrase plus a passphrase will be hidden in the interview and on Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions socials and on Bringin socials and also on Bringin's European Business Report that was published and released last week. So make sure to follow everything. I will include links in the description and in the pinned comment so you can follow and maybe get a head start on the treasure hunt. And speaking of treasure hunt, Orange Manufacturing Group has decided to create the mother of all treasure hunts. At block height number 963,000, he will be dropping Sound Money Volume 2, and the bounty is 1 million sats. Unfortunately, I helped to create some of the clues, so I cannot participate in this treasure hunt, but I hope that you do. I hope that you win the sats and, use those sats, 1 million sats, depending on where you live in the world. It could be a lot. Use it to do something nice for yourself or just save. But the whole fundamental, principle or meaning behind all of this is that through these treasure hunts, you're practicing how to do basic self-custody, single sig, with a passphrase. And so at the very least, if you don't, if you're not the one to sweep the wallet, and move those sats into a private key that only you control, at least you have the opportunity to practice wallet recovery using a passphrase, which is an important building block on your Bitcoin journey. And on Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions, we've had an RBF, a replace by fee incident in the past. So I can only imagine that with 1 million sats as a bounty, there will be a lot of RBF action going on. I can't wait to see and observe and, see who finally wins the prize. There you have it. This is the end of this weekly update. I hope you have a wonderful week and remember to subscribe and follow here on YouTube, on socials, so that you can get a heads up of when treasure hunts drop. Have an amazing week. Bye.